We're on with Dan Thiessen, and he just said he's taking it easy the last couple of weeks because he just finished. Well, why don't you tell everyone, what did you just finish?
I rode a Rogue Echo bike, which is one of those air bikes.
So you're pedaling and you're moving your arms back and forth.
Yeah, I did it for 12 hours straight, and I did 7,011 calories, 391 kilometers in 12 hours. Yeah.
391 kilometers, 7,011 calories.
Yes.
And when I saw you on that day, at the 6 hour mark, you looked like you were perfectly fine. And I felt bad for even speaking to you.
No, it was good. 6 hours is good. I had done, for my prep, I had worked up to 6 hours. So in my mind, the first 6 hours were just like, just had to get through them.
Because you had done like 6 hours at a time training multiple times.
Yeah. So,
but you never done more than 6 hours.
I did 6 hours once. I did 5 hours multiple times, 4 hours a whole bunch of times. So 6 hours was my last training cycle. I worked in 3-week training cycles where I'd work up in volume for 3 weeks and then deload for a week and then work up deeper for 3 weeks and then down a week. And that's how ultra endurance cyclists build their schedules out. So that's
where you got the training from, an ultra endurance.
Yeah, I got deep down the rabbit hole of ultra endurance training and how they do it with cycling and how many workouts they did a week, how many strength workouts they would do a week. And then from there, I just built out my own based on some protocols I had seen.
Because you've been doing strength and conditioning now for so long that you just kind of knew you needed a framework. And then once you had the framework, you kind of knew what to do diet wise, electrolyte wise, like hydration wise, like you knew all the other variables, sleep, recovery.
To a certain extent. Because I had never done an ultra endurance event before. So then,
had anyone ever ridden the Echo bike for 12 hours before that you know of?
No, I've seen now a 24-hour record with the Salt bike, which is a bit easier. So
it's a similar bike, but a little bit easier to ride.
Yeah, it's smaller. The fan's smaller. It's chain driven, which the Echo bike is belt driven. So the belt drive is like when you stop cycling, it just stops like dead in its tracks. With something that's chain driven, when you stop, it continues.
There's a bit of momentum that carries it.
So it's easier to kind of just pump along with your legs at a certain rates. If you're pumping along with your legs on the Echo bike, it's taking like a lot of energy. It's like tracking uphill really hard. So there's that kind of resistance. And then also because the fan's bigger, it just takes more energy to move the air through the fan.
And sorry, why were you doing this again?
So yeah, I wanted to help my brother raise money for his not-for-profit called the Dream Dealer. He has a orphanage in Haiti where they help close to 100 kids, orphans, with everything from housing, clothing, schooling, food, teaching them trades to survive. So it's really rough down there right now, and my brother funds a lot of everything that happens in Haiti out of his own pocket when there's not enough from the different events that he does. So I decided that we could do more, and I could raise some money from my gym. So I said I would Echo bike a calorie per dollar raised over the 12 hours. With the goal being 7,000, we ended up raising before the ride 6,000 something, but by the end of that day, with people coming in and donating, we were like closer to $8,000. But
awesome.
The goal was 7,000 calories on that bike for the 12 hours to earn the money that came in. And yeah, did it.
Did he take a trip to Haiti? Is that why he ran into that orphanage?
Yeah. So when that first earthquake happened, I think it was 2010, I believe. We were living together. I remember that. It was a rough time for my family personally, and I think Mike was kind of trying to figure out what life was all about at that point. My parents had just broken up, and we were figuring out kind of who we were living with and how life would be with our parents separated. I'm a bit older than Mike. I'm 2 years older, so I was working. He was just finishing high school, I believe, and was just kind of trying to figure out what life meant, I think. So when he saw that happen, he felt like he needed to go down there. He said that God was telling him that he needed to go there. So he found a missions group that was going down. and he hooked up with them. He sold all this stuff. Like the kid was sleeping on like not even a mattress, in like a sleeping bag on his ground, because he sold his bed and stuff so that he could go to Haiti and do this. Went to Haiti. I remember he told me when he got there was a bunch of guys trying to get him in a car. It's a bunch of Haitian guys. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're taking you. Come with us. And they're like dragging him. And then one of the people on the missions team saw him and grabbed him and like pulled him away. And they're like, those guys will kidnap you and then they're going to hold you for ransom. And that was his introduction to being in Haiti. So, but then he was there, and he tells this second part like with a little more emotion than I can, but I'll tell you anyways. He was helping rebuild houses and structure orphanage there, and this family invited him to come to their hut or whatever. And so he went, and they wanted to feed him, and they had no food. They had like a little bit of food, and the mother made dinner, and I don't know what it was, but they offered it to Mike. They're like, eat, we want you to eat. And he's like, no, you guys don't have anything. Like, there's kids here. Like, feed your kids. Eat. You guys eat. I'm fine. I don't need to eat. And they're like, no, you're our guest. You have to eat. And he said finally he gave in. And while he was eating, they all cheered for him as he ate. It was like the greatest thing they ever did for him, because he was helping them, that they could feed him, and they cheered him. They gave him, like, there's a huge difference. And there's like I think there's a parable in the Bible that has the same kind of example, but there's a huge difference between you giving something to somebody and you have a ton and it means nothing to you. Like, here, have this ribeye steak, whatever. It doesn't mean anything to me. I have 1 million ribeye steaks. Then you giving somebody and it's the only thing you have. I think that's got to be the most selfless type of act that there is. And so he said that changed him. He didn't know what to do. Like, he was like crying. He was trying to eat and cry, and they were like cheering him on. Like, they were so happy that they could feed him. So anyways, he came home and he's like, I have to do something. Something has to be done. I have to help the kids there. And so he started this not-for-profit. I don't know. It's like 13 years ago or so. And it's grown into this, helping these kids there. And they have a guy, his name is Vlad, which sounds kind of Russian, but he's a Haitian man, and his family, and they take care of the kids in the orphanage there. And he goes into town and he buys the food, and they got the ability to bake bread now. So they teach the kids how to bake bread, and then they sell the bread in the market, and they can eat the bread. And but it gets tough right now, because even for him to go to the market, the gangs in Haiti have taken over those areas.
I've heard it's gotten really bad in the last little bit.
Like, really. So he has to like pay off gang members just to get to the market and sell the bread. And so it's madness. But
it's mad. We went down there twice with Rockstar. The first one, I was part of that trip, and the orphanage we went to, like, you're going down like in the little kind of urban center, an hour away maybe from the airport, just kind of beat up roads. And we traveled with security. Mm-hmm. So we had a truck with water, pickup truck in front of our little bus, and behind with guys just with strapped machine guns.
AK.
And and then we were in the little bus. So I really wasn't ready for that. Mm-hmm. And we would go through this like town that was packed with the market. There's only one road going through, totally packed. Like, the bus is kind of weaving its way through all these people. You get it is a little wild. Mm-hmm. And we finally got just a little bit out of that town, and there's like dirt roads going down streets that have just high block walls, like maybe 15, 16 foot high block walls, and then gates. And then each of these gates are something else is going on behind them. And then we got to one gate, we opened it, and it's maybe 20 feet, maybe 30 feet wide, and then like 100 feet long, like a rectangle. And that was the orphanage. And inside, half of the area was like exposed to the elements, and the other half was kind of covered with some just kind of makeshift roofing, poured cement floor. And there's a classroom, and then just like a room with like all these bunk beds in them. And that's where all the kids were. And then just meeting the kids there, and then bringing like basic things like little ball, like just a ball, and seeing how excited they were to have a ball and then to be playing a little bit of soccer with them on the open area there. But they wouldn't let them really outside because it just wasn't safe for them to be roaming around. So they were just kind of like boxed in here. And just see the level of supplies. Like we're talking, they were running out of chalk, you know, like for the blackboard that was there. And the desks they were using were all broken. Like the bunk beds were metal bunk beds with one little thin sheet of like wire that was holding up a crappy mattress. It was, you know, it is what you think it was. Like it was horrible. And everyone was just kind of also so grateful to have just that. Kind of made you reflect on your own life and go, holy shit, what am I complaining about in life at all? Like I shouldn't. Nothing. And then we drove out of town into the rural areas and we went through some roads and then through some rivers that were obviously bigger before, but for whatever reason at this time of year, they were a trickle of a river and people are washing their clothes in that. And it was just the dirtiest water and people were filling up buckets with this water too to I don't know, do what with. And then when we were getting to this one village, little kids like toddlers, maybe 3 years old, like just popping out of the bushes wearing almost nothing and, you know, waving to you as you approach and stuff. And then getting to the village and there's just like a couple cows and then these little huts that had obviously been paid for by some other charity. And it was a bit of poured concrete. And it was basically the size of a shed in suburban Toronto, like someone's backyard shed. And that was their house. And that was like, they were so grateful because this was like a structure that was way better than they had before. And they would take us in and greet us. And like, we would have some supplies that we had all been told to bring. It's just, when you see that so close to us, I think I feel like the flight was like 4 hours.
It's not too.
It's like the other side of the Dominican Republic.
Just on the other side.
It was just crazy to see and just gives you a lot of perspective. So for Mike to go down there and like then follow up with support and then for you to be doing this here, I think sometimes people don't even know like the amount, $8,000 to be raising for them. That's like a shit ton. That is like a huge, I'm sure Mike is like ecstatic.
Oh, for sure. After I was done riding and Mike gave a speech while I was trying to figure out where the blood was going in my body, but and he cried like in front of all the gym members because he didn't, you know,
because he knew how far that money is going to go.
That covers over 2 years of that house, 2 whole years. So
it's wild.
12 hours was definitely worth for 2 years for all those kids is pretty awesome. We had such an awesome, just support from all the gym members and everybody who hopped on to donate and be involved in that day and to support me and everything we were doing. And then people in the CrossFit community. It was overwhelming.
What was the podcast that you were on?
I was on the Savon podcast, which is probably, I would say, the biggest CrossFit podcast in the space. He's out of California.
How did he catch wind of that you were doing this? Did you reach out?
I was after him for a while.
Okay. I
love that podcast. So I listen to that podcast all the time. And
what's the name of the podcast?
The Savon podcast.
Oh, okay. Got it.
SEVAN. And he was a former head of media at CrossFit HQ. And then he had started this podcast after he wasn't doing that anymore. And through COVID. And it just kind of blew up. He's just got a great personality. He doesn't care what people think. So he just says what's on his mind. And I respect that more than anything. But I had been after him for a while. I had actually told you, I'm like, how do I get on this podcast? And you'd give me some ideas to like get his attention or whatever. But this one caught his attention. And so he DM'd me on Instagram and then he actually gave me his number and then we were texting back and forth for a bit. And, he got busy and kind of some radio silence for a little bit. And then one day he's like, dude, you're coming on. And then they sent me a date and then I was there and it went way better than I thought it would. We hit it off.
Yeah. I heard the segment, you guys obviously.
Yeah. He said some really nice things about me, which is super cool. And he just became like a friend. So from that podcast on, he texted me all the time.
So what was impressive, like to somebody like him who had seen extreme athletic performances in the CrossFit world, let's face it, like that world has some extreme athletes.
Yeah.
For you to catch his attention, was it the 12 hours constant? Was it the fact that it was a Rogue Echo bike? I guess the combination. What was it that like...
Yeah, so he has an assault bike in his garage, and so he understands understanding what, because
once you've ridden on one of those things, you know how much it sucks.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's like a big difference, like for ultra endurance athletes, and bikers, going into that like 400 kilometer range is a serious thing. But it's still what I did. And I don't want to say this sounding like, oh, look at me, what I did. But on that Echo bike, first of all, on a road bike, you get the beautiful scenery. Okay. I don't get none of that. You get the ability to kind of pull off the pace when you go down a hill, cycle it, kind of cycle in different gears when you want to get, I have none of that ability. I have to constantly grinding. It's like a 12-hour, your mind better be in the right place. I'm going to grind on this bike for 12 hours straight at this pace, which I had no idea whether or not I'd be able to keep for that long. The pace was kind of absurd. It was definitely on the high end, and your body and your mind had to be fully prepared to keep that, to get to that 7,000 calories. There's so many times where during the whole process, I'm thinking like, I bit off more than I can chew. And usually I wouldn't say that, but I just didn't know.
So you had people joining you side by side for like an hour or two. I know one gentleman was there for like a few hours.
Yeah, 2.
Was that super helpful in those times? Like, and what were the worst hours?
9 and 10.
9 and 10.
Yeah.
Because you were not close enough to 12.
Yeah. Where you could see the light just yet. 11 to 12 was so much easier than like 9 to 10 or 10 to 11. Cause I'm like, I did this. Like it's going to happen, at that point. I'm like, I just have this many calories, and I'm so good with that bike now that I knew exactly what pace it would have to hit to even like ride it out. Like, so I finished a 7,000 with like 3 minutes left. And I took like what I called my 3-minute victory lap, where I just rode it until the 12 hours was up. Yeah, that was nice. Like being like, you kind of got to, it wasn't where I had bonked, which is like where you like hit a wall and you can't do it anymore. And then I had to like really struggle. Like I don't want to sound whatever, but it got paced out perfectly, Tom. Like I couldn't have done, and I thank God, because I don't know, like to me, there's something special about that whole day and that whole moment where everything just went my way. The pace went my way. My body went the way that I needed it to go. My fueling strategy worked, like everything worked. And then I had this guy who's an ultra endurance athlete in our gym who I help get strong to compete at a super high level. And he brought his indoor cycling setup where he's got like a laptop and he's going against people and his bike's hooked up to this thing that's spinning. But he was beside me. He rode for like 6.5 hours on that thing. And he was like, he knew when I hit these different parts in the race where he needed to give me a little like, this is what you need to do. But the biggest thing at 9 hours is like, I looked at my wife, Rach, and I'm like, my sit bones hurt so much that
Your hip bones?
Sit bones.
Got it.
Where the seat was sitting.
Got it, yeah.
They hurt so much. It was like 9 out of 10 at that point. I'm like, I can't sit anymore.
What did you do?
Dave was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I can't sit. It's like it felt like somebody was drilling a drill into my sit bones. Like it hurt that bad. And I'm good with pain, believe me. And I'm like, I don't know if I can sit anymore. And he's like, I have a cream. It's medical grade numbing cream. So I popped off, took a handful of that, put on my sit bones and anything else in that area, and it numbed out completely. I couldn't believe, like within like a minute, I couldn't feel my sit bones anymore. And then that gave me like, okay, like wow. I can do this, So
it was great that he was there.
Yeah, it was really good.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my foot started to hurt pretty badly. I just popped a couple ibuprofens. And
at what hour?
10.
Wow.
Yeah, I have some like tendonitis going on in the bridge of my left foot for the last like probably 6 weeks. So, but that, it's just repetitive strain stuff, but just now I had been going for 10 hours straight, it started to like seize up on.
How did your body change training for this thing? You usually carry around a lot of lean muscle. Mm-hmm. So what did your body change? Like it just naturally shed some of the muscle that you normally carry because it needed to?
Yeah. You just can't, I don't know. Maybe.
So did you lose weight overall?
Yeah. I started off at 207-ish.
At what percent body fat?
Around 5.
So you're like, you can lose weight. So then the only thing to lose then is muscle.
Yeah. 195 I was riding at. So I lost over 10 pounds.
Because your body, it just needed to be lighter.
Yeah, I couldn't eat enough to sustain, and I couldn't do enough lifting to keep the muscle on. And then I was constantly burning calories.
So how many calories a day were you burning, do you think?
It depended on the day, how much volume, but up to anywhere between, actually, we'll say 4,000 calories up to on my Saturdays, like 8,000 calories for the day.
And then how many months were you training this for?
4 months.
For 4 months. Yeah. How many calories were you intaking then?
So on a daily basis, anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 calories. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, between like 6 and 8.
So how are you eating that much? Did it matter what you were eating? Like
it did. I kept my diet as clean as possible.
So how did you get to that? Like, can you describe a day of eating?
So the thing is, so my breakfast is like a protein shake, but in my protein shake.
Wait, this is the breakfast. This is the day while you're training.
While I'm training.
Okay.
Protein shake, frozen berries, honey, coconut oil.
Coconut water?
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil. That's the base of this shake?
No, the base is water.
Okay.
Water, ice, because I like it a little bit thicker. Yeah, frozen berries, honey, coconut oil, collagen, whey powder. But then with that I have overnight oats. So I soak oats in water overnight. It makes it easier to digest. So I have a huge thing of oats. In the oats, I put peanut butter, Greek yogurt, maple syrup, and I just get this bomb of calories.
So that's eaten out of a bowl.
Yeah, it's eaten out of a bowl.
With the smoothie.
With the smoothie. That's breakfast.
Okay.
Then I would train. Usually about an hour and a half later. During training, I would have something called pentacarb, which is like a bunch of different types of carbohydrates in a powder form. And I would drink like 3 or 4 scoops of that, which would give me another like 100 grams of carbs throughout my training. And then after that, I would have another protein shake, which would have a banana, electrolytes, and I would put maple syrup or... And I like maple syrup or honey. I would just get a bunch of carbs.
Always whey protein or sometimes beef protein?
No, always. For me, whey. I'm fine with whey. And isolate is digest super quickly, so I needed that. And then an hour after that, I'd have my next meal, which would be some type of beef, lots of sweet potatoes, an apple. I use these things called Exert nutrition bars, which is like dates, egg whites, honey. It's like 4 ingredients. I'd have 1 or 2 of those.
Why just egg whites?
They just use it as the binder for the. You wouldn't want the yolk in a protein bar, right? It would be weird. And so then another couple hours after that, I would have chicken, either a pear or peach, a bagel, cream cheese with jam on. I'd like cream cheese and jam. Another one of those protein bars. Then a couple hours after that, I would have either steak, fish, or chicken.
Holy shit. What time in the day are we now?
Now we're at like 5 o'clock.
Oh my God, we're only at 5?
Yeah. So then I would eat steak, some type of protein, about 8 ounces, a cup of rice, 2 cups of vegetables, a salad with olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and a bunch of other vegetables on it. And then sometimes I would have like sourdough bread with that meal and some butter on it, and that would be a meal. And then before bed, I would eat a cup of Greek yogurt, and then I would put a cup of berries in that. But then I would take 2, this is my favorite part of the day, 2 huge pieces of sourdough bread. I would toast them. On one of them, I'd put grass-fed butter and salt, which is incredible. On the other one, I would take either almond butter, peanut butter, or coconut manna, and I would spread that out, and then I'd take a huge gob of like creamy honey and put that on top of that, and then I would eat that. And then if I still had room for something, I'd eat like another piece of fruit or something like that. So that'd be like a typical day.
And you did that for 4 months?
For 4 months, yeah.
Just the cost of feeding you.
Yeah. And I lost 10 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like 3 pounds of actual lean muscle, but with that comes like another like 7 to 8 pounds of water that muscle holds on to.
And then did you notice anything about your body that was unexpected? Like,
I didn't get as lean as I would be when I'm just CrossFitting and eating well. Because I was losing muscle.
Just thinking about everything you just told me you're eating, I'm like, no shit, you didn't get as lean. I don't care what you...
I stayed like 5% in the body scan.
The hardest part was just eating that every day.
Yeah, I've been leaner looking. Like I still could see all my abs, but when I'm CrossFitting and eating enough, then everything just pops and looks bigger, stronger. I just looked skinnier. And
were you lifting at all during this?
Yeah, 3-4 times a week actually.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So Monday squat and lunges, and then Tuesday deadlift and single leg RDLs, and then I would also do presses or bench press, and then pull downs or pull ups. And then on Thursday was rest day. And then Friday I would do front squat, some single leg exercise. I did a lot of reverse hypers to keep my glutes and my back strong. So I lifted quite a bit actually. Try to maintain as much muscle mass as possible.
And then the mental game of this was what? Like, how did you tackle this? Just every day you were going to ride? Did you ride the bike every day for 4 months?
Dude, I rode the bike multiple times a day.
For how short and how long every day?
A minimum 20 minutes up to 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how long did it take you to get up to the first 6 hours?
That took me the whole training, like 4 months.
Okay.
6 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. The worst thing you can do with endurance training is add too much volume too quickly.
Okay. So you were doing 20-minute chunks and then.
So 20 minutes. So dude, this is the thing is what people don't realize going into this. I rode the assault bike every morning, fasted for 20 minutes anyways. I just didn't stop doing that. So I did that. So every day, except for Sunday, Sunday I rest. I don't touch the bike at all. Every other day, every morning at 5 a.m., you will catch me on the Echo bike for 20 minutes fasted before I eat breakfast. That was part of my routine anyways before I started this. So I just continued with that. Then after that, every Monday was hard intervals for up to 40 minutes, anywhere between 25 to 45 minutes, hard intervals. And those workouts hurt, but you're hurting for long periods of time. And I got good at holding high paces for long periods of time.
So how long?
Dude, I tested everything from like how many calories I could do in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, up to an hour. Like I got to the point I was like 945 calories I could do in an hour.
What calorie pace is that on the bike when you
73 to 75 RPM for like an hour.
For context for anyone listening, I'm nowhere in the same stratosphere as Dan, and at 73 calories an hour, I know on an assault bike, RPM, I know on an assault bike, which is easier than an Echo bike, I can hold that for maybe a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So you're holding that for an hour.
Yeah, I was. By the end, I was so good on that bike. I would challenge any CrossFit Games athlete.
So you just naturally, is it the size of your body, the composition?
I have
your muscles.
Yeah, I think I have the right build to do something like this on a bike like that. So a normal endurance.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
6'1".
Yeah. So I was 6'1", 195 for this. To move that Echo bike at that pace for that long, you have to have a certain genetic makeup of enough power and strength and enough endurance and then enough stupidity in your head to make it happen.
Is there another benchmark where someone else has done this for 12 hours that you're aware of that you can guide yourself off of?
No. There is a guy who did a 24-hour on an assault bike. That's the only thing.
Okay. No one on an Echo bike for 12.
No.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you're the first person we know of.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything.
Okay. So now there's a benchmark of somebody doing it in the world. That's freaking freaky. Now.
Yeah. It's cool. Sometimes I look back and it seems surreal almost. I just can't, I don't know. I've done a lot of things in my life, and I think there's a couple things. One is that I was so determined to do this for those kids, and then my biggest worry was telling people I was going to do something that I couldn't back up. And I hate that feeling. I didn't want to, I told everybody
in the publicly
world,
stating goals then.
Yeah. But the amount of pressure and the amount of stress that puts on you is like a different level. Cause not only did I tell my whole gym, I told everybody in the CrossFit community,
your peers,
which is like worldwide.
Yeah.
I went on the Savon podcast and I publicly declared that I was going to do this thing. And I just didn't want to let people down. And as much as people message me and be like, listen, dude, you're already a winner. Like to me, it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. We raise this money, but I got to do this thing.
What did you learn? Like you already trained with your strength and conditioning stuff, never mind all the CrossFit and just running a gym. With your strength and conditioning stuff, you train people like John Michael, who's now a very high level boxer. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you took away from this that you're like, oh, okay, like I can apply that to what he's doing? Or is it just everything you already knew proved to be correct when it comes to doing this type of cardio for this long?
Yeah, I think what I did is just so much outside the realm of what's necessary physically for like a boxing match. It's just so different. Anything when we're talking like 12 hours straight of anything,
so it doesn't really apply.
Super ultra endurance. Like it only applies.
Yeah, it would only apply to ultra endurance.
Yeah. So what you can take away from it is just all mental. How more resilient you are than you think you are. And you have to push yourself into, I learned so much about myself. I feel like I grew so much as a person doing this because I continually took myself into places I'd never been before mentally. So I think that's something that I think everybody should experience, whether it's just like try to go for a hike for 12 hours straight, see what happens. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
what did you say to yourself during those moments? Like, what was the conversation like in your mind? Does anything stand out that you remember?
I had these stickers put all over my bike, and people wrote.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, like messages of like keep going, like those kind of inspirational stuff. But I wrote out my own messages of what I knew I needed to focus on in the hard parts. So I had like this on the bike right in front of me where I looked down. I had like all my kids' names, my wife's name. I had Jesus on there. I had how do you want to be remembered? Just these things that I knew. There's a couple key words that I kept. It was like my mantra pretty much was relax and patience. So at one point, I told Nick this actually today. At one point, I was like, time is just, I kept telling myself like, time is just imaginary. Like it just happens. So this is going to happen whether or not you continue to ride. So why would you stop? You know what I mean? Like 6 o'clock tonight is going to come. Mm-hmm. And either you're going to have your hand raised or you're going to have your head down. So how do you want that to come? Mm-hmm. And then you just kept going. And there was just moments like that throughout the way.
Is it because you grew up as an athletic guy that you've always pushed yourself to different challenges that maybe you could push through? Because I think coming to your gym through your programming, like you'll probably laugh, but some of the things you've made us do, you've pushed me to places where I'm like, holy shit, like I didn't die.
Yeah.
And now I've learned, because when we're doing a hard workout, I can throttle a little bit because I'm like, oh, I know I can go to a much darker place than this. I know for a fact I can because I've actually been there.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives you this sense of confidence where a couple newer guys that are going to the gym right now, I can tell, oh, they haven't pushed themselves there yet. So they are kind of freaking out. And I have to tell them, hey, you're going to be okay. Like your body can handle way more than what you just did. You just haven't felt that before. So you're freaking out. But I can tell you from even my limited experience, you're good to go. In fact, you need to go a lot harder, more. For sure. So I guess it's just maybe a lifetime of that is like giving you the confidence also to push through some of this.
Yeah. I started doing martial arts and fighting at a pretty young age, especially for now they start way younger, but I was like 16.
So you've always been tested.
Yeah, I knew what it was like to walk to a ring to see if you're the better man, and even
on a day when you're not feeling like you want to walk.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the other thing you have to realize is not every day you're going to wake up and be 100%. And I already had told myself like, no matter how I woke up that day and felt, it was happening. I didn't care.
Sure.
Like it was going down. And then I also, one of the things I picked up from Chad Wright, who's a ultra endurance runner, is that it's not, if you get injured in one of these events, it's when you get injured and how you deal with that. So I was already prepared that something was going to go wrong. Mentally, it was just like, how was I going to deal with it?
Yeah, I think before I would separate some activities in my life with like, oh, if I'm not feeling good, like I just won't do that thing because I had the perfect excuse. Now I kind of live like, oh, these things are going to happen whether I'm feeling great or not. It's just, that's what I'm going to deal with that day. If I'm feeling great, I guess it's going to happen and I'm going to have a smile on my face. Yeah. If I'm feeling like shit, it's going to happen and maybe I'm going to be grumpy.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
It's happening. Yeah.
You took that to the extreme.
Yeah. I had already gone through 3 bouts of sickness during Christmas break, so I was hoping that like I wouldn't catch the 4th wave of whatever, because the hardest thing I think would have been going into it not being able to like breathe out of my nose or my stomach being like turned upside down, but I had gone through bronchitis, the flu, and probably some type of COVID or whatever over the Christmas break, because I was just like, the volume was so high, I was beating myself up to make this, make myself be.
Would you ever do this kind of ride again, or what would be the next? I guess, will you just switch up the challenges? Because I don't think you're going to stop.
I have an idea for an event, which is based off of something called the Backyard Ultra running event. And it would be a 24-hour event. So there's that. I have,
So sorry, what's the Backyard?
Backyard Ultra is where you get like whoever signs up, they all start at the start line, and it's a 4.5 mile loop. They have to run the 4.5 mile loop.
And you're doing this from someone's backyard, literally?
Yeah, like they're usually done in like these guys who own like ranches or a cool like spot in New Zealand where the guy's like a cow farm, and he has this 4.5 mile loop. And you run the 4.5 mile loop every hour on the hour until there's only one man left standing. So typically the loop takes 45 minutes-ish, depending on how fast you are, and then they just do it over and over until the only one guy can do it.
And how far do people go?
The world record is like 4 days.
So you're sleeping in between laps?
Yeah, they sleep like 10 minutes, nap, and then they'll eat and then repeat, and they do that for days on end. So I have an idea. It wouldn't be that extreme, but it would be based off of that with the bike. And I would like to get some of the best CrossFitters in the world involved, and then maybe they pick a charity that there's like a prize purse that goes to the charity to the last man standing. We would only do it for 24 hours. And then on the last hour, if there was still more than one person left, then we would see who'd get the most calories in that last hour. So like push the body to the limit.
Can you do this remotely even maybe, where everyone's doing it at the same time in different locations?
As long as there's a judge and video set up, you could.
I would like to Savon about this.
Yeah, I want to. I have this idea.
Dude, you're crazy.
Yeah. Man. I also, now that I've seen it, I want to break that 24-hour assault bike record. I can beat it.
But the assault bike is a little easier than we described than the Echo bike. You want to beat it on an assault bike, or are you going to do it on an Echo?
No, I want to beat it on the assault bike. It's an official Guinness World Record. Oh. So I can apply to beat the official Guinness World Record for 24 hours on an assault bike for distance.
But dude, you're just going to be delirious in the middle of that.
I'm sure.
How many washroom breaks are you going to do?
I don't know. In 12 hours, I only peed once, and it burned. That was my biggest thing.
We're going to support everything you're doing. I just mean...
We'll see. Well, that won't be if I do it, it will be in a year from now. I'm good on that bike. It's like, it's something that I think, again, you have to have a certain makeup of power and endurance and craziness to be good on it. Whereas I'm a bit big to be an endurance runner.
That's what I mean. You're going to run this for how many miles? 4?
No, it would be done on the bike.
The 24-hour.
The 24.
No, but the Backyard Ultra.
So the Backyard Ultra, but the event I want to run is based off of that on a bike.
Oh, so I was confused.
My idea is
to do the Backyard Ultra
in
on
a gym.
Bikes.
Okay, so I send out invites to like 10 CrossFit Games athletes. We have 10 rogue bikes set up at a location. They have to go to the location. There'll be like $10,000 for whatever charity they want if they win. 24 hours. 450 calories on the hour, every hour for 24 hours. If there's more than one man or woman, you could have a women division as well, and you would just do 400 calories. If there's more than one man left standing at the end of 24 hours, it's a 1 hour max calorie race. That's my idea. And that's what I want to propose to like Rogue
okay.
But I want it. I don't want it to be self-serving. something about this process and doing it for these kids, it's so much more.
Because then it doesn't matter who bows out when. If you're raising money, you're raising money, and people are winning.
And there's some kids somewhere who need that money.
You might need some like games level athletes who have already accomplished so much that their ego won't hurt if they don't win.
Yeah.
But those types of people are also A-type personalities who want to win.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to see that last hour. Like, who has it in them? What do they have in them at that point?
The human body can do anything.
It's amazing.
Okay, so now if we change gears, so congrats on everything.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you're just still here with us.
Yeah,
I came in. I took a picture next to you. I didn't ride one thing, but I took a picture, a self-service. Actually, I think I might use that in this week's weekly email. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, you should.
But what was I going to say? So if we change now to the average human.
Yes.
When we were talking about this earlier, but we kind of had a little technical issue.
Yep.
I was traveling a bunch. Me and Mike are on a 12-week cycle of programming that you've done. That's taking us like 20 weeks to do because we do like
redo week one.
Yeah, we got stuck on week 3 for like 4 weeks. Yeah. Now we're on week 4 for at least 2, but our schedules are both a bit off. But we're building up. One of the exercises that's just ridiculous because I've never done this is bench press.
Yep.
And I did 245 the last time. I know Nick tells me not to tell anyone because it's an embarrassing number. I'm really proud of this. I'm very proud of it because 245 was easy and I know I can go more. So this time I told Mike
But that's better than all the teenage kids who can't do 2 plates in the global.
Yeah,
right?
I guess 51-year-old doing 245. And so now I want to do 250 or I think 255. But
255 would look good because with the CrossFit plates, like 2 plates plus the 15s.
Oh,
it looks nice.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so 255 it is. You've made decided. So now I know we're going to get there because you got us doing these, like the programming on the bench is like these tempo pause, like 4 sets of 6 each time. And it's a tempo pause and it's way harder than when you do a little bounce off your chest. Yep. Like that little bounce off your chest is everything.
Yep.
So now I've realized, holy shit, the pause at the bottom is horrible, but I love it.
That's how the powerlifters compete.
Okay, they pause.
They have to pause.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, especially most organizations will make you pause and then they'll tell you when you compress.
Oof.
Yeah. It's legit.
So I've realized the kind of the gains that you get from that. And just talking about this, I know how ridiculous it is. But now I've been traveling for a week, couldn't get to a gym. So I've been doing something that I know is silly and is not that great. But I've been doing 100 push-ups a day just to try to cue my body to tell it like, okay, like don't forget, like we built up to week 4 here. Yeah. And I don't want you to like lose anything because I haven't been able to get to the gym. Yeah. So can you tell everyone how ridiculous doing 100 push-ups a week is when you're trying to like accomplish something that's more of a strength test for yourself?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it ridiculous because the motor pattern itself is good. So it's not like you'll become deconditioned. But when you're doing that many reps and your body weight as a push-up isn't that heavy, then you're just not adapting the way that you would need to adapt for a heavy bench press. So your body's like, it adapts specifically to the not only the movement, but how heavy that movement is or how many repetitions you do. And if you take the example of the bike, even if I'm training all the time at 57 RPM and then all of a sudden I want to ride for a really long time at 54 RPM, you would think that I'd be conditioned to do it, but the body is actually, I'm conditioned to go at 57. So 54 will be a lot harder than you actually think it is because you're just not used to it. It's a slower cadence. Your body builds up that ability. It's very specific. Your body wants to be specifically adapted to things.
Okay. So any of us who are going to the gym, if you do the exact same thing over and over again, you're not getting any real benefit to a physical transformation of your body because your body just says, oh, okay, like I don't need to adapt further. Like I can do this.
Yeah. It's been stressed to the point that it's adapted to that weight. And like, so if you did 3 sets of 10 bicep curls at 45 pounds every week for the next, 30 weeks, eventually the adaptation will just plateau. And all you'll be doing is maintaining the ability to do that. So the muscle won't grow anymore. You won't get any stronger. You'll just be able to do 3 sets of 10 at 45.
So what is like someone listening to this, and I don't know if this is what you program for your online guys that you're coaching or in the gym, but it seems like you'll go through a cycle with us where let's take back squats, for example. If you're doing back squats, it's just a bit more weight every week for how many weeks. And like that increase in weight is basically telling the body, oh my gosh, like nervous system, you have to engage the muscles more.
Yeah.
And how much weight do I have to add? And for how many weeks do I have to do that in a row?
Yeah. So that's a basic linear progression, which is.
So what I'm asking you is like so basic that.
No, but that's like, to me, the people have lost the basics of everything in life. They want to be like complete experts and use the hardest way to get there, when really you should be finding the easiest and the simplest way to get there that creates change.
Okay.
Because that's like the like if you're talking marketing or something like that, you always told me, what's the low-hanging fruit? Why not take the low-hanging fruit? And why would you climb all the way up the tree and do the hardest thing so you could get one client when I could do one little thing and get 100 clients, right? So this is our low-hanging fruit here. And it's the basics of strength and conditioning, of adaptation, is linear progression. So if I take the example, let's take bench press. I start with a 5x5 at 135 at one plate, and every week over 8 weeks, I'm going to add 10 pounds. And when I get to the point where with that jump, so say it's like week 4 and I'm at 185 and I can't do 5x5 anymore, I do 4x4. So now I've decreased the volume, but I've increased the intensity. And so I say I get up to 215 and now I can only do 3x3. So now I do my 3x3 at 215. But you're getting strong. Like we start at 135. Now all of a sudden we're moving 215, right? And then at the end of say an 8 week, I work cycles in either between 6 and 12 weeks. And at the end we'll test. And I guarantee you it's going to be an easy 30 to 40 pounds extra on your bench press.
Yeah, what freaked me out was we were doing your strategy of this linear progression. I think we got to like 190 last time we did it, and we were doing tempo pause, and I forget how many sets for how many, but I remember feeling really good. And I think it was near the end, or I wasn't going to make the next week. And I'm like, Mike, I don't know, I'm feeling really good. Let's just try, let's just go to bro coaching mode. Yeah. And we went to 2 plates, of course, because we're like, how does 2 plates feel now? And we went to 2 plates and we banged out 3 at 2 plates, like, I don't want to say easy, but it felt pretty easy. Yeah, but we had never gone over 190 for the whole time. Yeah. And I was like, wow, like 2 plates for me, I wouldn't necessarily call it easy ever. It's always like, holy shit, okay, this is kind of game on. Yeah. But it felt like, wow. And then that's when I went to 235. And I was like, oh my God, like I could do that. And then it was pretty much no problem for one. And then I went to 240. And then even Mike was like, do you want to try 245? I'm like, yeah, shit, I want to try 245. And we recorded a video of it. And I did 245. I actually regret not going more. I only backed down from going more because I'm like, I've learned so much over the years. Like, okay, that felt good.
There's a point of injury.
Yeah. That was the point. I'm like, oh, that felt pretty good. I'm just not going to do it. Or in the past, I'd be like, let's just go. So
it's like gambling. It's right. It's like, oh, you keep winning. And there's at a point where you're going to lose it all.
I felt like I was finally smart. I did 245.
You took your winnings and
I cashed out. I got my video, shared it with a couple friends, and that's it. I think we actually put it on the Rockstar Instagram.
The thing is so there's training and there's testing. So the 4x6 at 190 with tempo pause,
heavy
that's training. Yeah. Training creates adaptation. The testing just shows you where you're at. That doesn't create much adaptation. But no, it's fine. It's good to have training.
It's an ego thing.
If you guys waited like with that progression 3 more weeks and then you tapered a bit and then maxed out 255 to 265.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so excited right now. And it's funny because I didn't care. I've never cared about doing bench press. Even when Ruben here is always talking to me about bench press, I'm like, dude, I don't care, because you've taught me the importance of like varying all the physical activity, like, wall balls and kettlebell swings and rowing and running and rope climbing and pull-ups and push-ups and push-pull every day, and or not every day, but like every other day. And so when I would honestly, I would just make fun of his bench press. I'd like, your bench press is useless. But now I'm doing the bench press and I'm totally into it. Like, holy shit.
There's something in our genes just genetically that men need to bench press.
So for people that you're doing programming with, I guess both online and at the gym in person, why is the back squat, and we were talking about this earlier, why is it like always the base?
Yeah, I think the back squat is king of all exercises. And some people say deadlift, but I prefer back squat because it is going to work more muscle. It's going to work your glutes, hamstrings, quads, core, but also force you into a deeper, bigger range of motion, which is good not only for building more muscle, also having your hormones like testosterone peaked, but good for your mobility. So I believe mobility is something that people need for long-term health and movement, where the deadlift puts you in a little bit less of a range of motion. You need less mobility. There's also more things that can go wrong if you don't know how to hinge properly, and people
What about with a squat? If someone doesn't have the mobility to squat below parallel, is it still worth it just to start? And then what, do you help them work on their mobility?
I help them work on their mobility. I use stuff like boxes to kind of see where they're at. We'll do box squats and then build
so
down.
So just to see if their butt can hit the box and come back up?
Typically people can, but it's whether or not they are doing it properly. So people will lose their lower back if and get something we call a butt wink going on if their hips are too tight and they're not able to squat into those ranges of motion. But then it's like, to me, that's like a chink in the armor that eventually is going to lead to some type of injury or just not like a movement issue. So I think you need to address those issues and see, like, are my hips tight? Is it my ankles? And is it my hamstrings? There's so many things that could be going on why they can't sit into a squat properly. But as soon as we get just like in that parallel below parallel range, then we're working in a good range of motion, and which is super healthy for all your joints and just keeping you strong and building more muscle and more strength along the way. Like, I want to be able to sit into my squat into my 70s.
Do you remember that one time you made us do, I've wanted to do all these things, but I think the goal was like your heaviest deadlift and then sprint 400 meters.
Oh yeah.
And I did it because I remember for me, it was 405.
Yeah.
And then I think you gave us a minute to rest. Yeah. And then you just had to sprint 400 meters.
See how fast you could.
Why were you doing that to us again? Like, it was awesome, by the way. Like, when I tell people I did that, like I hit my 1 rep max and then I sprinted, and for me, it was probably a slow 400 meters. Yeah. By that time, for me, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Why were you doing those two things to test?
I like things that are opposing, as far as like, I feel like you should be strong, but you should also be very well conditioned. So what's the point of having all this strength, but then like you can't run down the street and you're going to have a heart attack? Like, to me, that's nonsense. And so it's why I always love CrossFit. It's why I loved MMA. I love the idea of the well-roundedness of a martial artist or the well-roundedness of an athlete.
So life throws anything at you and you can do it.
You can do it.
You can squat, you can jump, you can lift, you can push.
You got to pick up a whatever and bring it down to your basement. It's not a problem. You got to go for, you got to run with your kids. It's not a problem.
It does give you confidence. I think what convinced Mike to start going to, when Nick referred him to you, was I had just started doing some of this stuff. And as a team at Rockstar, we went paintballing. Oh, yeah. And I guess through these CrossFit workouts, my body learned how to adapt to recover fairly quickly. Because in paintball, it was like capture the flag. Yeah. So we were running up this outdoor hill and then you would come back down. I forget why you would come back down, and we would try to run up again, whatever. Maybe we were attacking the hill or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there was like a minute left and I ran back up and everyone was exhausted. And I managed to get through a couple people and get the flag and come back. And I remember Mike looking at me like I had accomplished the impossible. Yeah. And I think it was at that moment, he was like, what is this training that you're doing? And then obviously Mike's an athlete, so came and just crushed me at everything I was doing there.
Mike was the king of burpees, man.
Mike is the king of burpees and the king of just like calmly doing anything you program, whereas I like to kind of bitch and complain. I don't know what it is. Like, whenever you program something, I like to tell. So for anyone listening, I will just look at what Dan programs and then I'll say, Dan is a horrible person. He hates us. I hate this. I don't want to be here. Why am I paying to be here? Yeah. And this is the worst idea ever. Everything sucks. Then I'll go do it. Mm-hmm. I have no idea why and it's not really.
It's like a coping mechanism. Yeah.
But I'll always do it. And I might not do it great sometimes, but I don't care, because the conversation, like, I like those moments where sometimes I'm doing something and my mind's saying, just stop. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to stop. And I have that conversation going on.
But that's breaking through mental barriers. Yeah. And Huberman talks about that with the ice baths. It's like, you get to a mental barrier, like say it's like 2.5 minutes where you're like, I cannot go. Your mind says, I cannot do this any longer. And then you say, shut up. And you do another 30 seconds, you broke through a mental barrier. So it's for me on the bike, it was the same thing. 9 hours. I cannot do this. And it's like, I'm going to slobber this cream on and then I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah.
You know what, where that seems to come up a lot for me in some other workouts is wall balls and kettlebell swings. Cause I think with pull-ups and other stuff, like
I get to a point where I
have to drop off the bar.
Failure.
Yeah. Yes. But wall balls,
you don't have to.
Yeah. It's more this like, I should drop the ball. Yeah. And then it's like, well, I'll just do 2 more. I have to do 5 more. Or I see someone else didn't drop the ball. I'm like, oh shit, he didn't drop the ball. I should keep going. And it's this conversation, this battle.
Have you ever taken wall balls to like a physical failure?
Never.
I have. Oh, to the point where my shoulders could not extend the ball up to the wall anymore. It's because it was a online CrossFit Masters online competition, and it was you had to start with 10 wall walks, then do 100 double unders, and then do 100 wall balls. So I banged out 10 wall walks in less than 90 seconds.
So for anyone who's not listening, you kind of crawl backwards up a wall into a handstand position.
Yeah. So you go up and down 10
That's
times.
so hard on your shoulders.
Yeah. You go up and down 10 times, and then 100 double unders, like double unders is skipping where the rope goes under your feet twice. So I did that unbroken. So I'm into the workout 2.5 minutes and a ton of shoulder volume. I grab that ball and I'm like, I'm not dropping this ball. So I'm like 75 wall balls in, and my shoulders stopped working, and it was excruciating.
So the ball just smashing in the face?
No, I would just like get it enough, and it was like resting on my face as I would squat, and then I would just use my legs to throw it up again. And I think it was 85 where I had to physically drop it the first time ever, where I took it to a wall ball to the point of like muscular failure. But again, it's like a mental thing. I finished that workout, and I was ranked against, I'm in the 35 to 39-year-old category. I was ranked against all the 35 to 39-year-olds, and my time was 3rd best in the whole world. But I took it to a point of like literally I couldn't use my arms at all anymore.
But what do you tell people when you do crazy stuff like that, or when you program? I think for us, if you program heavy lifting, I've always felt better if I eat a lot after. Yeah. And for me, it's a lot of protein, but I'm always told, I can't tell you, it's almost 10 out of 10 times. If I tell people who don't go to the gym how much protein I'm eating after some of these workouts, I know I need to, because my next day will feel a lot better recovery wise if I eat enough protein and just eat enough stuff.
Food, yeah.
But then the constant response is, oh my gosh, like you're not gonna be able to go to the washroom, or you're eating so much meat. I can't believe you're doing that. Yeah. What do you tell people? Because I haven't found that.
Yeah, it's so like there's so many wrong facts, or they're not facts. They're what people perceive as facts in the nutrition world. When you're eating that much protein, your body needs a little time to be able to adapt to that and build up these digestive enzymes to break it down and stuff like that. But it has nothing to do with your bowel movement. If your bowel movements are not happening, it's because you're not eating enough fiber, or something that's off in your diet, but it's not because you're eating enough protein. Most people don't eat nearly enough protein. It's like the number one thing I see with all my nutrition clients is that they're underfed in protein. They eat too much fat and carbs. And
so like not athletes, just the average person.
Average person will eat like probably half of what they should be eating is typical. I eat 250 grams of protein a day. I have great bowel movements. I have no problem. I have the digestive enzymes built up to be able to digest the protein and use the amino acids to be able to rebuild all the training that I do. And on top of that,
for context, how many chicken breasts is that?
So yeah, I eat about 250 grams of protein a day, which would be like if you had 8-ounce chicken breasts, probably like 7 or 8 chicken breasts. Okay. If you just ate chicken breasts,
that's a lot.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problems with it. And protein is more satiating, so you don't feel the need to eat other crap. And it takes more energy for your body to digest protein than fats or carbs. So you automatically boost your metabolism just by eating it. And on top of all that, protein is the least likely of the 3 macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbs, to be stored as fat in your body. So like, come on. I just give you like 3 amazing reasons why you need to increase your protein intake, right? But people, it's like, I've heard doctors tell my clients that like, they're
not
scared,
to eat protein.
They're scared for their kidney. It's like, oh, shoot me. Where's the science behind this?
So where's that coming from? Just pseudoscience?
It's like pseudoscience. That same doctor who's like 300 pounds and doesn't take care of himself.
I heard and
you can go and tell people that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I heard a really healthy neuroscientist at a conference once say that consider the food that you're eating like instructions to your body. So if you're giving your body shit food, you're telling your body to create shit energy.
Yeah.
But if you're giving your body high quality proteins, high quality fats, high quality carbs, you're telling your body, you're giving your body the instructions to create high quality energy, both for your physical needs and your mental acuity. So I tell my kids this all the time too. If they're not feeling well, I'm like, well, what instructions did you give your body? Yeah. What are you putting in your mouth? Because what you're putting in your mouth is telling your body what to do with itself.
For sure.
And when I heard that, I don't know why, maybe it was just that moment in time. I was like, oh, that's like a really great way to think of it. So like if you're eating just potato chips all day, it's like you're giving your body shit instructions. It's like basically I'm eating garbage, so make me feel like garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. And when people were like, oh, you burned so many calories during this training, you must have got to eat whatever you want. No. My diet was dialed. Like I ate a lot, but like if you go back and listen, I ate fruit how many times a day? I ate vegetables at every single meal.
How many times a day was it?
Fruit every meal. Yeah, I ate vegetables at every meal. I ate high quality protein and fat at every meal.
What type of fats?
So grass-fed butter, olive oil. I got a really high quality, expensive olive oil. Not only that, I take omega-3. High EPA omega-3s, which helps with inflammation.
Like a cod liver oil kind of thing?
Yeah, but they make those pills to have the EPA super high compared to the DHA because that helps with inflammation.
These are the ones you sell?
No, I don't sell these. I got these ones from Dr. Cowan.
Oh, okay.
It's super expensive.
Okay.
But I took that in the morning and the evening. Coconut oil, almond butter. I was getting all my fats. And then all my meat is grass-fed meat, so all the fat in there is high in omega-3s. So like my diet was dialed because my inflammation was already so high with the amount of training I was doing. If I feed myself a whole bunch of crap that just makes that go higher, you know how my joints are going to feel? How long am I going to last on a bike when I'm feeding myself complete garbage all the time, right?
When people come to you for strength and conditioning stuff, do people ask like, are the people asking to lose weight most of the time or great gain? Like, is there a commonality between what?
Typically it's lose weight. People are,
okay. So what's
our day and time, people don't move. So people are overweight. Like look at the States, the amount of people that are obese. When I go to my son's hockey games or wherever he is, I'm constantly like searching the other dads. What do these dads look like? They're all overweight, dude. It's like 90%.
I've noticed that now. Now I've really noticed
these dads are my age, kids my age, and I look way younger, definitely physically like a whole different human being. And I'm not saying that to like boost myself. It's because of how bad they look. I'm like, this dude looks like he's about to have a heart attack. This dude's 50 pounds overweight. And I could go through each one of those kids' dads and one out of 10, maybe I'm like, oh, this guy must be a runner. And 1 out of 50 where I'm like, this guy lifts weights. You know what I mean?
So most of the help you're giving people is actually diets. Like, even though I've learned so much lifting stuff from you, like, and some fun stuff, like just being able to do, I haven't done them in a while, but like a clean.
Yeah.
Like that's just such a satisfying, fun thing to learn to do.
Yeah.
But it's mostly been diet stuff that's probably had the biggest impact, because now I know I'm like, oh, like 80% of the way my body seems to adapt and how it looks comes from diet.
Oh, the look, 100%, like not 100%, but a very high percentage is the diet, because you can
layer in some weight training and stuff. But if the diet's messed up, your body doesn't change.
Even if you're weight training really hard and then you're not getting enough protein just because you don't know, then you're just missing out on so much. Like you cannot outwork a crappy diet. And even with the amount of calories I was burning, if I didn't have my diet locked in properly, I would look different. I would just get skinnier and skinnier. And then I would look kind of skinny fat almost if I ate too much. And that's with again, there was days where I'm like 8,000 calories burning, you know what I mean? So you can't outrun, outbike, out whatever a crappy diet. It's going to turn you into diet plan mush.
Yeah. And I think that's actually, reflecting back, I think the diet plans you've given me over the years, they've helped the most, because I didn't know what to substitute the foods I was eating with.
Yeah.
So like having your plan, like for example, I started eating more fats because I realized, if I don't have some fat with meals, I don't really fully feel satiated. Like I feel like, I could have a little bit of dessert or something. Mm-hmm. But if I had some super dark chocolate, like 80% or above, or some almond butter, or even like a tablespoon of like MCT oil, those things would just somehow cap off a meal. I don't know how to describe it, but like for sure, I would need that fat.
There's a satiating aspect of it.
And I didn't really learn that stuff until you see it documented out with you. And it's kind of embarrassing that a grown adult.
No, but they don't teach us this stuff. Yeah. Imagine this stuff. Imagine how smart our kids could be if our school system was set up for them to like learn actual life skills, like how to eat properly. You would think that would be a good thing to teach the kids. You want a healthcare system that's not run down, and hospitals that are not filled up, and people not needing pharmaceutical drugs. Teach the kids how to eat. Teach them how to move. That if I had a school, the kids in that school would come out after grade 12 and be superhumans. Yeah. And we failed. I don't care what you say.
Affects your hormones, affects your mood.
Yeah, your mood, how you act in public, like the list can go on, but
a lot of the attention deficit order. I know in that Dr. Brecka podcast with Rogan, they were talking about how a lot of attention deficit stuff can just be reverse engineered back down to improper nutrition.
Yeah, from like the way they enrich wheat with folic acid.
That's right.
Like 50% of people actually can't digest it, and when it's not digested, then it's just sitting in your system, becoming like a toxin, and then your body doesn't know what to do with it, and these kids' brains go crazy.
Huh. Do you ever take any glutathione?
Jeez. Or no? I used to, but like if your diet's locked in, then you're producing it pretty naturally.
Are you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I feel like sometimes if I've been traveling a lot, I remember for a while I was taking, I don't know why. Yeah. Read it somewhere.
But if you're low and you get it, then you feel way
I felt
better.
like if I had done a guy's trip or done a lot of traveling for whatever reason, or if I was having a few drinks over the holidays, the next day if I took out just a whack load of glutathione, it was this little hack.
Way better.
Yeah, like air travel. Yeah. Just, I don't know. It felt like it. And I kind of got out of that habit. So I just ordered some,
to feel better.
Yeah.
To perform better, to move, just to.
But you're making me think, there's just a real lack of a good, accessible nutrition outline for lots
it's becoming more and more.
It is. There's a lot more out there.
But there's so much out there that even that starts to become very overwhelming if you don't know the basics.
I think next time you come back, I'm going to bug you to bring Rachel back, and then maybe we can just go over
for sure,
nutrition start to finish.
If you want to change your life, change your nutrition first. Yeah.
And we won't call the police on you guys if you're getting butter and eggs delivered to your door, because I know you guys are accepting
everything. Bring it back to the farm days. Give me a grass-fed cow, grass-fed butter, grass-fed eggs, milk, pastured eggs
with chickens eating bugs.
Man. Yeah. We've lost it, man. We've lost it with all the technology and everything we have to make this life easier for us. We've made it so much more complicated, and that is sad because we were designed in a very specific way, and somehow we think we can outsmart that, and we can't.
We'll wrap it here. I do want to do that podcast, but for anyone who wants to reach out to you for coming to Radix in Oakville or online training, if they're not around that you do, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, just email me at hello@radixgym.com, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. And we've been working remotely with a lot of Rockstar.
I know you have. So awesome.
With amazing results. So don't feel free to reach out. We're all my whole goal for this year is just to help as many people have a transformation as possible.
And I know, I won't say their last names, so I don't know if they want people to know, but Dave and Nadeem, there's not many Nadeem, so everyone's going to know who Nadeem are, both working on their first pull-up. So, and I remember getting mine. Rachel helped me with the elastic bands and building up to it. It's like this massive accomplishment. Yeah. So we're cheering for you to get your first pull-up, and then sometime in 2024, I'm sure they'll both get their first pull-up. So it's super cool.
And I think Rich listens to this podcast as well, and he's been killing it in the gym, and I just want to shout out him.
Awesome.
He's a good guy, and he's gonna have a huge 2024. by the end of 2024, me and him will be on this podcast.
Yeah, cool.
Cool transformation. Yeah.
Dan, congrats on the big 12-hour ride, man. Congrats for all the money you raised.
Yeah,
you and Mike are doing this. It's been fun to watch you on the sidelines doing nothing next to you, just take you posing for a picture.
Yeah, that was good.
So, thanks. And thanks for sharing all this, man.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.